Hi, this is Chris McKaylee, and on this video, I wanted to talk about some of the common misconceptions related to floor actions. The first misconception is that legislators in either house of the California Legislature can add on or change their votes on different bills. The Assembly does allow its members to add or change votes after the vote has been announced, the final vote. However, that vote change or add-on cannot impact the final result. The Senate, on the other hand, does not allow this except for two individuals, the two leaders, the Senate President pro tem and the Republican or minority leader. Also, so long as the final vote of the bill is not affected. And that's pursuant to Senate Rule 44. Another misconception is that all bills without opposition are placed on the consent calendar. There are actually different rules between the Senate and Assembly regarding what is a measure for the consent calendar on their floors. For example, under Senate Rule 28.3A, if a Senate bill or an Assembly bill is amended in the Senate to create a new bill or to rewrite a bill, then a standing committee is prohibited from placing that bill on the consent calendar. Another misconception is that the phrase pass on file and the other phrase pass and retain are the same thing procedurally. An author on the Assembly or Senate floors may choose to pass on file, which means that they're temporarily giving up their opportunity to take up the measure on the floor that day. In the Assembly, pass and retain prevents the author from taking up his or her bill for that legislative day, but the Senate doesn't recognize a difference between the two phrases. Another misconception is that the floor analyses always list supporters and opponents of a measure. Now, while the Senate floor analyses do list support and opposition positions of those who have submitted written documentation, the Assembly actually does not list any official positions on their floor analyses. Another misconception is that parliamentary inquiries, as well as points of personal privilege, are basically the same parliamentary motions. A parliamentary inquiry is actually a procedural question that's posed by a legislator during a committee hearing or floor session. On the other hand, a point of personal privilege is an assertion by a member of the Assembly or Senate that his or her rights or reputation or even conduct have been somehow impugned, and this entitles the member to repudiate those allegations. Another misconception is that the three constitutionally required readings of a bill are serving the same purpose. Actually, each bill must be read 3 times in each house on 3 different days before final passage can be taken up. Now, the first reading of a bill occurs upon introduction of the bill. The second reading occurs after a bill has been reported to the floor from the committee with or without amendments. And the third reading occurs when the measure is about to be taken up on the floor of either house for debate and final passage. Another misconception is that the lieutenant governor can break a tie vote in either house. The lieutenant governor is the president of the Senate, which is primarily a ceremonial role, except in one instance, the case of a 2020 tie vote. The lieutenant governor can break such a tie, but it's only in the Senate. In the Assembly, a motion or a bill fails in the case of a tie vote. And a final misconception is that bills taken off the inactive file in either house immediately returns to the third reading file. Bills taken off of the Senate inactive file are returned to the second reading file. In the Assembly, bills that were previously on third reading that are moved to inactive are subject to a 1-day calendar notice or daily file notice when they're removed from the inactive file, and they're returned directly to the third reading file and not the second reading file like in the Senate.